Part 6. Why is Samuel L. Jackson in Star Wars movies? When I first heard that he was gonna be in Star Wars, I was like, huh? What? After a while, it made sense to me though. There is a reason why he's in there, and it has nothing to do with him being the absolute best person to portray the oh-so-memorable character of Mace Windu.
People getting jacked in this movie.
Let's flash back to 1997. Titanic is breaking the box office records all around the world, and at the same time Lucas is shooting episode 1. While he's waiting around for others to do the work that he'll eventually take credit for, he complains about Titanic.
You know, we're never going to beat Titanic. Nobody can.
You could see how annoyed he is that another director is making more money than him and stealing the spotlight. Now, it'd be really naive to assume that George Lucas returned to filmmaking just because he wanted to tell the origin story of Star Wars. He's a businessman first, and a filmmaker second. But he's a good businessman, I'll agree with that.
Where is the money? Come on, my honey. Let's spend it, right.
But the Star Wars prequels are nothing more than carefully crafted products to appeal to as many moviegoers as possible. He had milked the original trilogy as much as he could by '97, so it was time to move on. Now with all that said, we can discuss Samuel Jackson. Now a lot of you might be thinking that he's in Star Wars movies because they wanted to have, a black guy on the Jedi Council. It's kinda true, but there's more to it than that, because the diversity quota had already been filled. When the first Star Wars movie came out, people said, "Where's all the black people?" But then in Empire, black people started appearing everywhere. Return of the Jedi was even more diverse. We saw our first black X-Wing pilot who died. There was an Asian pilot who also died. And Lando even had a Hispanic co-pilot. In Jedi, we also got to see the first Jew in Star Wars. The Phantom Menace was also a plethora of diversity. We had Asian guys running the Trade Federation.
I was not aware of such failure.
There was a Middle Eastern junk dealer.
It takes some long time to fix it.
And we broke new ground by having the first homosexual in Star Wars. So by the time episode 2 was released, diversity wasn't an issue. But what was an issue was demographics. Truth is, and I'm just gonna say it, black people don't really like Star Wars all that much. Sure, some do, I guess. But it's a really small number. Now, Hollywood and advertisers have a term they use to avoid being called racists. The term they use is the urban market. Now, the urban market once stole my TV, so I know they like movies. But usually it's things like Barbershop, Merida Goes to Jail, Soul Food, Set It Off, Waiting to Exhale, Friday, Three Men and a Little Lady, New Jack City. Now again, I must stress, this doesn't mean that all black people like the same kind of movies. But if I had to pick one demographic that would be least likely to watch a movie with scenes like this, it'd be black people. Oh, come on, you know I'm right. George Lucas does attempt to correct this missing demographic problem by casting 2 of the coolest black dudes ever in Star Wars. Now, while Burley got to play a role that was like a real cool dude,
Hello, what have we here?
Samuel Jackson is horribly miscast as the most boringest character ever. You see, Jackson's strength as an actor is not playing someone that's reserved and wise. It's playing bad motherfuckers.
It's the one that says bad motherfucker.
Characters that have a certain intensity to them.
You wanna shut that mouthy bitch of yours up?
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell!
Yes, goddammit! Waste the motherfuckers!
He can give a really powerful performance if put in the right role. The wrong role will suck.
The oppression of the Sith will never return.
Most times he'll be wearing a black leather jacket and he'll probably be like a cop or a special agent. You know, a role that allows him to beat people and scream at them.
What's my name? John Sham! John Sham! Say it! John Sham!
Jackson's really best when he's screaming.
I have had it with these motherfucking
snakes on this motherfucking plane. Don't fuck with me or I'll shove a lightning bolt up your ass. Well, believe it now, motherfucker. We gotta get this car off the road. Waste the motherfuckers. English, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
Now, if you wanted to cast an older, wiser African-American Jedi, you got so many other better choices, like Morgan Freeman, Forrest Whitaker, Sidney Poitier, and so on. Problem is that these guys, and while they're all excellent actors and could pull off the whole wise Jedi thing really well, they aren't the biggest box office draws. And they certainly aren't really that hip to young movie-going audiences. The allure that Samuel L. Jackson was going to be some kind of awesome ass-kicking Jedi in Star Wars? That was nothing more than a dirty, sleazy marketing gimmick. He didn't do anything. And his delivery of the clunky dialogue was just fucking awful.
Remember, Obi-Wan, if the prophecy is true, your apprentice is the only one who can...
Well, hey, you know, it's a Star Wars movie.
He did awkwardly swing a sword around and then decapitated a poor guy who was just trying to make his way in the galaxy. But by no means was Jackson a badass in this movie. He was just yet another creepy, boring asshole. Could have done him in the CGI and not made a bit of difference. So in short, Jackson was cast not because he was good for the part, but because his name would bring in extra dollars and an audience that might not have come otherwise. Much like how Jar Jar was there to appeal to the really little kids, Anakin was there to appeal to younger, toy-playing, aged boys. The Jedi action stuff was to appeal to the teenage to middle-aged fanboys. And lastly, why do you think Amidala changed her outfit so many times and wore such elaborate costumes? Well, that was an attempt to give little girls and women something of interest to look at. The main point I'm trying to make is you can make a film that appeals to all audiences, but you gotta keep all the elements pretty subdued in order to make it work. When you include the extreme ends of the spectrum that movies could go to in order to sell your movie to everyone possible, from like baby stuff to extreme hardcore violence, it becomes a big fucking disaster. Kinda like what Abe Lincoln once said. You can fool all of the people some of the time, and you can fool some... fuck it. Am I making any sense? Sometimes I ramble after I had a few vodka gimlets.